Hi everybody, Chris Titley here and welcome to Scoreboard.
This episode is powered by Swyftx, Australia's top-rated crypto exchange and proudly homegrown, just like many of the athletes and business leaders we feature on Scoreboard.
Hi, it's Chris Titley here, and on today's episode of Scoreboard, the podcast, I'm joined by Hayden Kerr. Hayden, thanks so much for being part of the series.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, looking forward to contributing to your platform here at Scoreboard. Going to be a good chat.
Thanks, mate. Where in the world am I joining you from today?
Today, you're joining me from sunny Cardiff. I'm out here playing some county cricket for Glamorgan, which has been quite the roller coaster of a stint, to be honest. But yeah, when I say sunny Cardiff, it's actually the first day of rain probably that I've seen here in about 3 months, which is quite remarkable. So all the boys have been pretty pumped with the weather here. I think they kind of want a little bit of rain so they can get a break from bowling, but it's all good here.
Yeah, mate. I've been to Cardiff a few times, watched a Wallabies game there, been to a test match there, first day, I think it was 2009 of the Ashes there. And the weather was good. The bars were good. There's still the walkabout there. Is the Aussie bar still around?
If I could remember correctly, the walkabout bar, I'd be able to tell you, but I've been to a few, just can't quite remember the names of them. But yeah, I definitely know what you're talking about there with the Principality Stadium. Nice spot. Yeah. And yeah, obviously Sophia Gardens is a beautiful ground as well. So I've enjoyed playing a couple of games there. I wish it was more, but no, it's been a really good stint over here.
Mate, and some sort of breaking-ish news for you in regards to signing a deal back here in Queensland. Do you want to talk about that, mate? Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks so much. I suppose we can talk about it on a low level. I suppose I got let go or released by New South Wales a couple of months ago. It was probably around April now, I'd say. And since then, I've been over here, obviously playing the county stuff with Glamorgan, which was a great opportunity. And long story short, one of the Queensland players handed back their contract for personal reasons, which is obviously quite upsetting. But I suppose in some ways it's been a sliding doors moment for me, and hopefully a nice inflection point on my career moving forward if all goes to plan.
Mate, and a question on that, not necessarily the move, but you're playing red ball and also you play a bit of white ball. How do you go as a cricketer now balancing the act between the four different types of the games?
Yeah, there's so many different formats now, isn't there? And lots of things to balance. So I suppose from a skill perspective, I go well with balancing what that looks like. For me, I like to try and play with a similar tempo with the bat. Obviously, you rein it in a little bit with the red ball, conditions dependent. But yeah, I like to kind of, stick to my strengths in all the different formats there. I suppose I've struggled a little bit with it physically. Being an all-rounder, obviously the demands are quite high in one-day cricket and red ball cricket if you're playing well. Obviously, if you're not playing well, then the load's not that high, but the plan's always to be playing well, and when that's happening, there's obviously a high physical load. So that's something that I need to get better at in terms of managing my body and bouncing between different formats and being able to hold on for long periods of time. So that's something that I'm working on personally at the moment. But other than that, I try not to overthink it too much and just bring your best game to whatever format it is.
Yeah, and then touching on that, the best game, being an all-rounder, what skills do you work on the most, I suppose, and probably more than the specialist position somewhat? How do you go about sort of refining your skills to be the best player that you are in terms of an all-rounder in different forms of the game, as you mentioned?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question. I suppose I've gotten to the point now where I feel like I've got a pretty balanced understanding of my game, and I think it just depends on what time of year it is and what's coming up next, and that's kind of how I work on or tinker with my game. So for example, coming over to Glamorgan, I knew that say around April time, and I had about 4 weeks to build up before the T20 blast here. So most of that prep was with the white ball in hand, bowling lots of Yorkers, lots of slower balls, hitting a nice hard length, and then being really positive with the bat and trying to, hit the ball at the right trajectory, hit it with power, and not overthink it too much and just be a bit creative with my game. So I suppose that's an example of me prepping for T20 cricket versus red ball. I haven't played a lot of red ball in recent history, which is disappointing for me, and it's something that I'm really looking forward to when I get to Queensland shortly. And I suppose once I get there, it'll be adapting to the new conditions. Playing at the Gabba, obviously, it's quite different to the SCG. So, I'll be able to, tinker with those plans and adjust accordingly and see how it goes.
When it comes to cricket, looking back at the history, we had sort of the Test cricket, and then you had the Shield, and you had the one-dayers, and they were sort of the same players initially. Then they sort of veered a little bit, and there were different players. You had a one-day player, maybe not a Test player, and then you had the introduction to 2020, and you've got sort of the specialist T20 player and the specialist Shield player. But it feels to me like it's sort of coming back to, like, look at Steve Smith, like coming back to the point of like one player should play all of them. How have you balanced that in your career?
Yeah, I suppose class is permanent, isn't it? And it goes to show when someone like Steve Smith comes back to the Big Bash and, he plays 3 games for us at the Sixers and he scores 200s. So, I suppose, like I'm trying to keep it, balanced and it's hard to describe, what I'm trying to do there. I think, I suppose at the end of the day, I'm just trying to bring my best game to all those formats and just keep it as simple as that.
Yeah, no, it's a good answer because it is. There's variations of skill levels in regards to and different techniques and stuff, etc. But over time we've seen people be specialist 2020 players and be specialist Test cricketers, etc. But as an all rounder, you're impacting the game all the time. I'm curious to know, going back to your love of cricket, where that came from, the early days, and did you play cricket all your life, or was it a bit later?
Yeah, I suppose I've definitely played cricket all my life. I grew up in Bowral, which is more famous for being the home of Sir Donald Bradman. So lived across the road from there. My family home's still there across the road from Bradman. Dad used to work in the city and drive me around to training everywhere. And now he's rolling the wickets at Bradman and he's one of the curators there. So it's a nice little full circle moment there. But yeah, I've always loved cricket. It's always been a part of my life. And that kind of just grew and blossomed as I became a teenager and then moved up to Sydney.
In regards to Bowral Oval, do you remember, what's your first sort of good memory of that oval, if it is a good memory, or your memory of that oval full stop?
My first memory would definitely just be, mum holding me back from running across the road to go to Milo cricket. That was probably my first memory. But then in terms of like something that stands out was definitely the Pura Cup. I remember we would have, built some stands around the ground there, small stands, and they would have hosted the Pura Cup, New South Wales, maybe versus Queensland from memory. People like, Phil Jakes and those types of guys batting out on Bradman Oval. Great times. Something I, reflect on quite fondly.
Yeah, no, and that being your local club with so much tradition, so much history, and visitors coming to the town to go through the museum, etc., and the bakery and the bookshop, I believe.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, Gumnut Patisserie.
That's it. Yeah, no, it's pretty good shout out to them if they're listening, by the way. So, and playing your junior cricket there, did you play for that club?
Yeah, I played for Bowral Cricket Club. Played for them until, I suppose even throughout high school as well. Played for them in the first grade competition, and then as things started to progress personally, I started to make the move up to Sydney. So Dad was he was working in the city. I remember he'd get up at 4 a.m, drive up to Sydney from Bowral, work for the day, drive back, pick me up early from school, drive me back to the SCG indoors for 5th grade training at Sydney Uni, watch me roll a few left armers out at the 5th and 6th graders, and then drive me back home. So he was doing that a couple of times a week, and then obviously taking me up on Saturdays as well, which when I look back on it does make me laugh a little bit, because maybe I was just ridiculously delusional about where my path was as a cricketer at the time. But at the same in the same breath, I loved it so much, and he'd do anything for me. So I suppose it's in some ways it's gotten me to where I am today.
What is it about cricket that you love the most? It's quite a generic question, but I also go back to the fact, were you like kind of fanatical when you were a kid as well, and were there people that you looked up to and had posters on the wall, etc., or was it just an interest in playing?
Oh, definitely fanatical about it. Loved all the players, knew everything about them. Loved going to the games when the opportunity came up as well. So, was definitely in love with the game. I suppose some icons that I looked up to, Shane Watson as an all-rounder, loved him. Loved Hussey's batting. Loved Ricky Ponting. Loved watching Mitchell Johnson bowl fast. I suppose that era of cricket in general. That was a special time. And I suppose now it's very similar in the sense that we do have a pretty all-star team at the minute. It just has a different feel about it when I'm kind of mixed in and amongst them at, say New South Wales training, and you're in the nets with them. It's quite surreal, but at the same time, I feel like it brings that personality down a peg because it doesn't seem too unreachable and unattainable, if that makes sense. It's been interesting.
Yeah, no, it does make sense, and they're all 81 babies too. Mitchell Johnson and Shane Watson. In my era, I wasn't privy enough to play for the Australian under-19s that era, captained by Michael Clark. But it was a pretty good team with Mitchell Johnson, Michael Clark, Shane Watson. I think it was Nathan Horrocks was in there as well in the mix. Some good cricketers through all that. But when you met these people for the first time and you got picked in your first class game or list day or even 2020 and you met them, what was the chat like?
The chat, well, I suppose in my first class debut, none of those guys were playing, but a funny side story, the first time that I met Pat Cummins would have been it was my debut actually. It was my debut second 11 game for the ACT Comets. And for whatever reason, him and Josh Hazlewood were prepping up for the test series at the time. And their prep, I'm not sure why, but it looked like bowling a few overs down at Phillip Oval. So my debut was, with or alongside Pat and Josh in the second 11 for the ACT side. But the first time I met him was as I went to put the key on the door at the hotel, and there was Paddy in my room with me. So it was really nice of the coach to kind of set up that arrangement for me, and that's quite a organic way to get to know someone. And I reflect on that moment in time. It was awesome.
When you meet these people, the high performers at the highest level and the best in the world in their trades, like what's some characteristics that you have now learnt from them, I suppose, in regards to their habits and their personalities, and what makes them a little bit different?
I suppose it's high performers are obviously a different cat in some ways, but at the same time they're all just human beings. So I think it kind of circles back to what I was saying before, where I used to put people on a pedestal and really think that these things were unachievable and unattainable. It's not the case. I suppose it's not really the answer you're looking for there, but
it is the answer, because I interview these people, like some of these people, not Pat Cummins, for instance, but certainly people that have come on to Scoreboard. They've been world champions and gold medalists and the best in the world at what they do. And even there's a golf clip the other day, Scotty Scheffler talking about winning the tournament and then going, his parents, his kids going, "Oh, what's for dinner, Dad?" You've just won the tournament of your life. And then you go, well, you still have to eat. Still have to think about dinner. Still have to think about, putting the bins out or whatever it might be. It comes back to your personality and human beings, because we all are human, but there are different habits, I suppose, and ways of thinking for high performers. How do you see high performance sport in terms of mental physique and training, as well as physical training?
I suppose it's definitely an art, and in the past I used to think it was a science. So kind of leans into something that I've been trying to get better at recently. I used to try and tick every box, cross every T, dot every I, and I still do. It's just my nature. But I'm trying to lean into being a little bit more creative, being a little bit more relaxed, and understanding what I need at different times, and just listening to that. So I suppose that's kind of where I'm at in terms of mental performance and that side of the game. And it's so important that sometimes you do just need to let go and just use your gut feel at times on what you need. So that's kind of where I'm at with my game. And obviously the physical performance side of things is probably a little bit more structured, and looks a certain way, which is easy for me to lean into because, I can turn up knowing what I need to do or what I need to work on and just get to work at it. I suppose it's getting better for me personally at letting go of not having to feel absolutely perfect before you go into a game, not having the perfect prep or whatever it might look like. You might not be extremely confident on the day. You might be coming up against good opposition that you haven't done well against in the past. So it's kind of being able to look past that, and be confident in your own process and what you've done up until that point, and just go out there and let go.
Were you someone that kind of beat themselves up, your own worst enemy as a junior cricketer in regards to, I suppose, your performance, and you come off and you're like, oh, I should have done this, should have done that. I'm not happy with myself, because I do see every now and then sometimes batters come off at getting 78 and just throwing the bat down or something, whereas you probably go 78 is pretty good, but they were unhappy that they didn't get on at 100 or 200 or whatever.
Yeah, I think I was pretty good as a junior. I was obviously, you'd get disappointed and upset about not playing your best or having a poor performance, but I suppose I've learnt over time that all you can control is your process, and if you're getting out in the right ways, as bad as that sounds, then that's okay. Some days it works, some days it doesn't. That's just the nature of cricket, and that's kind of why we love it as well.
And in regards to that, giving your best or trying your best as a bowler, sometimes I'd imagine you bowl really, really well and you don't get a wicket, and sometimes you might bowl some pies and get 5 for. Is that kind of sometimes like that?
Particularly in T20, yes. And I think I'm kind of in that phase at the moment where I reflect on my first breakout season in the Big Bash. I think I took between 23 and 25 wickets with Moses Henriques standing like my captain at mid-off, just basically telling me what to bowl, and that everyone was just trying to slog me because I was kind of new on the scene. They have to face, Stephen O'Keefe, Ben Dorsch, Sean Abbott, all these world-class bowlers, and then finally they get the chance to face me and they're trying to hit me out of the park, which is how I was getting a few wickets. But I think now that I've taken a step forward in my bowling and a step forward in terms of role playing at the Sixers, bowling some really hard overs now, it's more about how can you go for 6 or 7 runs off the over, and that's a great win. It's not really as much about the wickets anymore. So definitely, looking at economy rates, that's a really important thing in the short form for me personally. Definitely haven't taken as many wickets as I would have liked or have in the past, but I think it's more a reflection on what I'm doing for the team now versus how well or poorly you're bowling.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic around the role in the team in T20. I was speaking to Hugh Wybgen recently about he's sort of batted in 4 different spots and can be shifted up and shifted down the order around according to what the team wants. But obviously, as an individual, you need to practice all sorts of different things, maybe coming in as a pinch hitter or maybe coming on as an opening bowler or whatever it might be. How are you in regards to that as a player now? You're ready for everything and anything?
Yeah, I suppose I've just kind of evolved naturally just from being exposed to different situations. These days, I'm pretty specific with my prep. I feel like I've been pigeonholed a little bit with my batting, and I'm kind of down the order now. So I kind of know that if I'm going to get a bat, it's a maximum of probably 15 balls. So it's just how can you have the most amount of impact in those 15 balls. When I first came onto the scene in professional cricket, it was my Sixers debut. I came into that side as a batter. I opened the batting for my club at Sydney University and did really well in that role. And so the first probably 2 or 3 years of me being signed at the Sixers was as, I would say, a batting all-rounder who can bowl a few seamers. but obviously things change and things evolve. And I suppose at the Blues, I started batting between 6 and 8, and the same thing at the Sixers as well. So, they got a lot of value out of my bowling, and just kind of slid down the order a little bit, which is fine. And that happens, I suppose, in these franchise leagues as well, when you're recruiting specialist players and overseas players such as your James Vinces and those types of players. They're there to open the batting and they're there to do a job. So, that's, to be expected to kind of slide down the order as an all-rounder in those situations.
Let's talk about the Big Bash for a second. It seems like a good red wine, mate. 14 years in, it just keeps on getting better. The crowds, the atmosphere, the type of game, the innovation within the game, with the surges and things like that and whatnot. Since you first started playing to where it is now, how do you describe it?
Yeah, I think it's ebbed and flowed a little bit. I suppose, I think when I first came into it, it was on fire. Some massive names, big crowds, anything and everything that you'd expect. And then obviously we went through that COVID period where no crowds. I think we probably played a little bit too much with the rules and the innovation of the game that made it a little bit Mickey Mouse. And
went for a bit longer one time, I remember as well, into back to school, etc. I think, and then they tried to tie it back a bit.
Yeah, we had I think it was 15 round games in the year plus a long final series. So I remember, there was one season playing 18 games in the year, which is quite a lot for such a condensed kind of period. And then they've made their adjustments again, changed a few rules and brought it back to 10 games a season. And all the TV ratings are saying it's that everyone's loving it. Whether or not they tinker with those, I have no idea. But from what I can understand, it's going really well. The crowds are great, especially having 5 home games a season. I think your support kind of buy into that now, and they really rally around those 5 games and make it a bit of a spectacle. So it's been really good.
And how do you go during that period of intensity of injury and workload management and travel, etc.? Because it is quite intense, right? It's this block where you're kind of playing one game, then you're traveling and on a plane, then you're out there again, and then you're playing, and then you're on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, etc.
Yeah, there is a bit of that. I suppose the staff are really good with managing it now and not asking too much of you outside of those games in terms of, extra training or whatever that might be. So it's more about staying fresh throughout that period. And if you're playing well, it all kind of sorts itself out. I suppose the only disappointing thing about those short form tournaments is if you do get injured, I suppose you do miss most of the tournament and miss your opportunity there. But obviously that's just the nature of the game. And I think the Sixers are really good at managing that stuff. And I've had some successful seasons with them out on the park and being able to stay fit and playing well. So, yeah, I've really enjoyed that experience. I suppose it's when you start to intertwine that with trying to prep for 4-day cricket on the back end and at the start of that schedule. That's when things for me personally start to go a bit amiss. But yeah, something I'm working on and hopefully I can figure all that out over the next couple of years.
And when it comes to continuing to have fun, and you obviously had fun as a kid and playing, etc., the balance between money and professionalism and eyeballs and feedback, I suppose, versus having fun, how are the ebbs and flows of enjoyment levels as a high-performing professional cricketer?
I think I've always enjoyed it at an equal level. There's never been really a period where I've not enjoyed the game or I've felt disconnected from the game. There's never really been a period like that. I think it's more just if there is ever those feelings for me personally, it just comes from a place of not really reaching the goals I'd set for myself or the ambition that I might have had for that period of time or that season. And that's purely the only way that I would ever really feel, disheartened by the game of cricket. Other than that, it's been a life-changing experience for me and basically the best thing that's ever happened to me. It's been such a great ride so far, and with everything that's to come as well, like I mentioned earlier, I feel like I'm really at an inflection point in my career with everything that's going on, contract wise inside the game, moving states, getting opportunities overseas, and taking that leap and moving to Queensland. So I think, these things really excite me. Obviously, there's a few teething issues and admin to work through, but it's all part of the game, and I'm really looking forward to those challenges that lay ahead.
You touched on the word goal then. I'm interested around the goal setting, in particular throwing in the mix the idea of grabbing a contract somewhere and moving and jumping on a plane and packing up your life and moving to the Sunshine State, etc., and how they play into potentially some goals, and whether the goals are, I want to get 100 this year, or I want to win the Shield or whatever, versus, no, I just want to, maybe they're internal, or maybe there's something just to do with you.
Yeah, I haven't really thought too hard about the goals that are kind of relevant to me moving forward. I suppose a lot of it is to do with being on the park and staying on the park, because good things happen to me when that's the case. I feel like I'm a really consistent cricketer, and I don't really have those periods of time where you're not contributing to the team. And I suppose that's much easier as an all-rounder if one skill's not firing, the other is, and you make sure that happens. And I suppose sometimes you put yourself under a bit of pressure to do that, but it does get the best out of you as well. And it's a healthy thing to have, I think. So, I suppose in terms of goals, like, I'd just love to play as many games as I can for Queensland. I haven't really put numbers in front of me or different selections and stuff like that. It's basically, can I stick with my process over the week to set myself up really well to perform? If I get selected, great. That's it. The selection part's not really in my control, but if I do get selected and I stick to that process, let's make sure I just dive into that out on the field, and what will be is what will be. No doubt it'll turn out pretty well, because I've worked so hard over such a long period of time that's going to hold me in good stead in those moments. And I feel like I see that a lot in the Big Bash. I've performed quite well now and consistently there, which is great. It's just more transitioning that back into Shield cricket once I do get that opportunity again.
Just touching on your strengths there, why do you think people pick Hayden Kerr in a team?
Because I'm a good fella. I don't know. I don't know, to be honest. I suppose a lot of it comes from consistency, and knowing what they're going to get in terms of my skill set. I think in terms of white ball cricket, I'm pretty dependable in terms of having good control over the game, and getting the result of what the team's trying to achieve at the time. So I think part of it is that, and I think the other part of it is being able to provide all three facets of the game: bowling, batting, fielding. And if something goes wrong in the team and I walk out at number 8, there's still the possibility to win any game at any point. And I'm not sure every team is able to say the same, which is, I suppose as well why the Sixers have a lot of success over a period of time. Is we've got people like Sean Abbott batting at 9 and 10, which is outrageous. He's got a T20 So, I think when you're able to stack a team like that so strongly, you're only going to have success over a long period of time. Hopefully this year it results in a trophy. That would be nice. But
again,
I suppose that's
why it could
why
be an umpire's decision, or it could be a rained off thing or whatever, and you go, well, that's the trophy loss, but it's sort of nothing that you can control.
That's right, yeah.
And in regards, I suppose, coming to a new team, what do you look for in a culture, in a team, in an organisation? You've been to a few. There's obviously variables. There's egos. There's coaches. There's relationships with coaches, etc. What are you looking for in Queensland?
I suppose nothing specifically that I'm looking for. All the initial introductions and conversations have been amazing so far. They've got clear plans for me, what the season looks like. I know a lot of the guys in the team already, and some of my favourite cricketing memories are with some of those guys in that team as well. There's a young Hugo Burden, up-and-coming batter in that team who you might be aware of. Him and his family probably also helped set me up on my cricket journey in some ways. would have been 4 or 5 years ago now, just coming out of the COVID period, and there was no cricket available in Sydney. Everything was shut down. I'd just spent the last 3 months in Darwin playing, trying to push my case and trying to get selected for the Blues. And I was up there with Hugo, and he kindly extended the invitation to come and play at the Gold Coast Dolphins. And him and his family looked after me for a couple of months whilst I couldn't get back into Sydney. People back home had their eye on performances up in Queensland. I managed to squeeze out a few hundreds and some wickets, and all of a sudden I was making my Shield debut probably 4 or 5 weeks later back in Sydney. So yeah, it's going to be nice to reconnect with those types of stories and those people that have helped me out so much. And, you know, they still call me, you know, once a week to this day, which is, you know, I suppose a reflection of their character and how they've been brought up. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting back there with them.
Just touching on that support crew for a second, it's very important, and it's been discussed quite a lot in some of the athlete podcasts in and around the people that have backed you and of sort of the sacrifices that you've made or investments that you've made in your career and missing events or doing things or missing holidays to play cricket. The people that deeply believed in you, and then, you know, maybe you get a golden duck and get whacked around, and they still text you to say, mate, keep your chin up, right? Can you talk about the importance of having people around you like that?
Yeah, I probably couldn't place more importance on it. You know, it's obviously over a period of time I've come to realize who that really tight circle is, and yeah, it's definitely a mixture of my immediate family, my partner Jackie, a few of my best mates, and my club at Sydney University, and then you know, a few coaches as well that have been there throughout the ride. Basically from start to finish. I've had a couple of consistent figures throughout that time. One in particular, Nick Larkin, who I played with throughout his career at Sydney Uni, played a little bit with him at New South Wales, and now he was my batting coach at New South Wales as well. So it's been great for someone like that to be consistently, you know, in the picture from start to finish. And by start, I'm meaning 6th grade at Sydney University as well, when he was there playing in the ones, and he'd be there throwing balls at a couple of us who are in the kind of up and comers program that they run at Sydney Uni. And all of a sudden he's, you know, throwing you balls at, as the New South Wales coach, and you're going out there to bat for him. So yeah, he's still someone that kind of keeps in touch, and we chat all the time about everything cricket and off the field, obviously. But yeah, it's great to have those people in your life, because you do need them, and it's not until the point that you need them that you realise it. So yeah, it's very important thing to have.
You get the 1,000 texts when you do really well, and maybe not the texts when you don't do so well, right?
That's it, yeah. And you want to see the ones when you're not doing well. That's when you need it. And it's, yeah, like you mentioned, it's funny who kind of comes out of the woodwork at those times, because they're the ones that really do care about you and what you're trying to achieve. And that's the most important thing.
You touched on your support crew and your friendship group, etc. I'm curious to know what your scoreboard moment is. You may have already mentioned it. Potentially, is a moment in your life which is like a Kodak moment, very, very vivid, and you're like, it feels like yesterday. And from that moment, things changed. Yeah,
I kind of think about my scoreboard moment as periods in time. And I think one of those periods in time was, like I mentioned, that Darwin period, going up there, taking a punt on myself I basically quit my job as a physio. I had a base 1-year contract at the Sixers, and it was basically a dive-in moment before I do commit to, full-time work. And the person I am, when I try and do something, I do it 110%. So I thought, you know what, let's give cricket a full crack. Let's try and get on the Blues list. Let's play Shield cricket, Big Bash and the rest. And that was my moment, I suppose, that kind of took that leap, and the journey that's taken me on. Darwin 3 months, 4 months, into the Gold Coast, into Adelaide, still locked out of Sydney, back to Sydney, Shield debut into the BBL, which was my breakout year. And then all of a sudden, 6 months later, I was at the IPL. I was playing for Derbyshire County. It was silly when I reflect on it. And I suppose it's a good lesson in terms of being able to let go and just I suppose commit to your process, and wherever that takes you is wherever it takes you.
Speaking of process and wherever it takes you, in the back of your mind in regards to cricket doesn't last forever. It can last till quite an oldish age, I suppose, playing cricket, but it doesn't last forever. What's in the back of your mind, or is there nothing at the moment in regards to, like, let's just put the head down and give it your best shot like you just mentioned before?
There's plenty in my mind. It's always whirring up there. And particularly a few months ago after being released by the Blues, it all kind of hit me at once. I'm still playing Big Bash cricket, but obviously that's only for a couple of months of the year. So got 10 other months to fill. And yeah, in the background, I've got a physio degree. So I was wondering about, do I dip the toe back in there? I've got my like a level 3 high performance coaching cert, which I did last year up in Brizzy, and coaching something that I really think I'd add a lot of value to in the cricketing world at some point, whether that was going to be now or in 8 years, who knows. I've been dabbling with the idea of getting into finance, which would be obviously a very big change up for me, but I've got the opportunity to explore it now, so I was thinking about maybe doing that at some point. And yeah, as you can tell, I'm a bit sporadic and a bit everywhere at the minute, but that's just the nature of my life at the moment. I'm trying to lean into it.
Yeah, mate. So where's the interest in business from? You got a curious mind around profit and loss and how things work and how share prices go up and down, etc.?
Yeah, I suppose it definitely stemmed from the crypto world. I suppose I dived into that, would be 5-6 years ago now. Hugo was one of the big advocates for it as well. His old man works in that space. And my dad comes from the banking world, so he's kind of been exposed to obviously not cryptocurrency, but the ideas and theories around all that sort of stuff. So yeah, definitely got my interest from the crypto world and loved doing research and trading and learning different things inside that space. It was yeah, a really exciting thing to learn about, and it still continues to grow, and it's pretty astounding what it's doing at the minute. But yeah, I suppose that's where that's all came from. So if that's something that I can revisit down the line and maybe just, making it a little bit more risk averse, that would be nice.
Mate, I think we might have also share a common sponsor. I think Swyftx was one of your sponsors for a while.
Yeah, they're one of my sponsors for the last Big Bash. So that was a really nice moment, because I think I reached out to them. I was saying to their head of marketing, Caitlin, that I reached out to them probably 4 or 5 years ago when I just started playing and didn't hear anything back. And then all of a sudden they were sponsoring the Sydney Sixers, and I got asked to do an appearance for them. So she came down and I nailed her about it. And all of a sudden we're on board with Swyftx this year. So that's been a great partnership, and obviously holds a lot of significance in my journey and kind of what I'm about off the field as well. So hopefully that continues down the line, and it's been great working with them.
Mate, absolutely. And I fully endorse being great working with them. They've been a big believer in Scoreboard and have sponsored Scoreboard. And as part of their sponsorship and their new campaign, Crypto Can Take You Anywhere, we run a segment called The Bucket List, which is powered by Swyftx, is a sporting event that you haven't attended yet that you would love to attend. Hayden, I'm curious to know what your bucket list sporting event would be.
Yeah, I think it's quite timely just because it's just been on over here in the UK, but seeing a lot of people going to Wimbledon, I think if you could get centre court to the grand final of Wimbledon, that would be a pretty special moment. Something I haven't really been to live tennis that much before, and obviously it's such a spectacle over here and so hard to get into. So I think that'd be a really great experience.
There you go, mate. We've had the Tour de France, we've had the Masters, and you're actually the first Wimbledon final. So there you go. The bucket list, maybe crypto can take you to the Wimbledon final, right? Maybe they should run a promotion. Now, I've got a couple of other questions. Your all-time favourite sporting moment?
Yeah, I had to think about that. I tried to keep it relevant to me as a cricketer. Obviously, there's so many, fantastic sporting moments out there, but and one that's obviously bittersweet as well. But reflecting on Ben Stokes's Headingley innings, I think, geez, that was special to watch. Just as an all-round cricketer, the things he's achieving in the game and doing in the game, it's special to watch, and it's something that the all-rounders such as your Cam Greens and those types of players, that's kind of what's coming for them as well, no doubt. But I suppose in the here and now, that's what Ben Stokes is doing. So, kind of something to look up to and try and achieve, and that innings kind of topped it off.
Mate, that was a tremendous innings. Wrong side of the ledger obviously got up then, but Jack Leach also did his part at the other end. And an unbelievable series going on right now with England-India, and lots of heated exchanges. Are you getting into that?
Yeah, lots of twists and turns. It's great to actually be inside the change room here at Glummy and just seeing how they all talk about it, because they know these guys personally. I don't really know any of the English international cricketers, but they all know them personally and know what they're like as people. So it's interesting to hear what they have to say about the games and what's going on with all the exchanges and that sort of thing. It's in some ways, I think it's nice to see. None of them are overstepping the line. They're all just being competitive and wanting to win the game. So I think it's kind of at that perfect intensity right now. It's great viewing. And obviously until the point that someone oversteps the mark, that's when everyone's going to point the finger and say you can't do that. But I think for now, it's just great for cricket.
It is, yeah, the Test series. And it was actually when I think there was someone on a hat-trick, but at the same time, on the TV screen was the Lions versus the Wallabies, and it was the last play of the game. So it was a hat-trick ball versus the last play, and a few people were like, what do I watch? And it was all happening at once.
Yeah, that's when you need the split screen.
You need the split screen. Now, speaking of split screen, I'm gonna ask a few questions for you, mate, and you're going to have to answer them pretty rapid fire. So Spotify or Netflix? You had to choose one.
Spotify, 100%.
Yeah, the podcast or the music or both?
Both, definitely. Yeah, diving into both. It's music in and around the game, and then outside the game, it's just podcasts in the background.
Favorite podcast?
Favorite podcast, Modern Wisdom.
Oh, no,
Chris Williamson.
Oh, that's okay.
soon. After this podcast.
Modern Wisdom. Yeah. Modern Wisdom. There you go. Yeah, what's that about?
Yeah.
Modern Wisdom.
All things life.
Yeah.
He's got some really special guests on there. I suppose the topic's quite inconsistent, but a lot of philosophy and that sort of thing as well, I suppose. Yeah.
Let's go. A long lunch with friends or a long run with friends?
Ooh. I do both. Let's go the long lunch, though, I think. Everyone that's going on a long run is actually looking forward to the long lunch, I think.
Right, so you're doing a long run into a long lunch. Are you a bit of a foodie?
I love my food, yeah. So whether it's a home-cooked meal or out at the cafe, I'm pretty happy.
Any particular shout-outs at home or in the UK or in Queensland that you're looking for? We're always looking for sponsors on Scoreboard. Any particular cafes or restaurants that you like?
I've been spending a bit of time at Ground Bakery here in Cardiff, so they've been good to me so far.
Is it better than the Bowral Bakery?
Oh, geez, I don't think so. The gumnut patisserie is world class, isn't it? So the almond croissant there doesn't miss.
And what about the foodie scene in Queensland, mate? Are you onto it yet?
No, not at all. I've been asking for a few recommendations. I'm hearing Gramps Cafe might be one of the plays, which seems close to me. I'm sure you know a bit more than me about that scene, but yeah, that's to be explored, I think.
Mate, shout out to Moscone and New Farm, I reckon. It's really fabulous Italian. I'll probably get in trouble for some of these Italian restaurants out there that I didn't mention. But, and if you've got a special occasion, you probably have to go to SK, which is SK Oyster and Wine Bar, which is exceptional food, but it's for not for everyday dining for people that want to spend a fair bit of money, but it's delicious.
No, that's fair.
But
I've heard good things about that, so yeah, look forward to getting there.
Yeah, mate, we'll have to grab a feed one day. Now, a couple of other questions we've got. Do you like watching cricket outside of you?
I do, yeah. I think I suppose it's turned more into homework than anything else, but yeah, I do love watching the game. I did notice that there's a little window in the Big Bash this year that I might be able to make the Sydney Test. So it's been a while to go and watch some Test cricket live. Got to the World Test Champs this year over at Lords for the Aussie-South Africa game. Obviously, that didn't go how we all wanted it to. But yeah, that was really awesome to be there, and hopefully I can get to the Sydney Test this year.
Mate, that's awesome. A couple of questions to finish up. Some advice to a 15-year-old, potentially, who wants to be a professional athlete, wants to play in the Big Bash, or wants to be a high performer, a professional sports person. What's some advice you can give to them now, sitting here in 2025?
Yeah, I suppose the most important thing I would say is just your love for the game and your passion. And whatever helps, light that spark for you. If it's playing with mates, if it's competing at the highest level, whatever that looks like to you at that moment in time, I think that's just the most important thing, because it's that underlying love for the game, that underlying why am I doing this, that is going to keep pushing you further in those times that you're struggling, you're not scoring runs, you're not doing well, or you've just kind of lost that motivation at that period of time, which happens to everyone. So I would say as long as you're doing everything and anything you can to keep loving the game, that's just the most important thing.
Did you play just cricket, or did you play other sports as well?
I played a few other sports, but I was awful at them. I've tried soccer, tried hockey, played a little bit of golf. But at the end of the day, I was also, involved in cricket that all year round, despite the weather in Bowral, I was always trying to get across the road and bowl in the nets and take my mates over there. So it was always cricket first, and then we'd, make some room for some golf or, a bit of soccer after that. But yeah, I suppose not that great at any other sports.
And the final question is around being a parent. I've got 3 kids that play sport, and obviously there's an element of behaviour and etiquette and support that level that is required from parents. And you mentioned that you're a level 3 coach. And have you seen some parents and their behaviours, and what's some advice you can give to parents around their kids playing as well?
Yeah, I suppose and doing a lot of one-on-one coaching myself, I do see quite the difference between whether it's the right term or not, the helicopter parent versus the one that kind of drops their son or daughter off and heads in the car and just trusts that they're going to enjoy their experience and try as hard as they can. I suppose I think back to, how my parents probably operated with me, and at no point did dad ever really hover over the nets or like take me over to bowl. It was always me, yelling at him, Dad, let's go over to the oval. Like, can you bowl at me? Can you do this? Can you do that? And then I suppose it just organically came from inside that I loved it so much. And I do see that a lot in, those players at that younger level. Kind of like, I think that it'd be called the Green Shield competition in Sydney. It's under 16s, and you really do notice the difference between those who just turn up and want to be there, and they may play other sports, they may do other things, and they're just naturally talented and naturally hardworking. And then I suppose it crosses the line when you get told what to do, or told how to work, or told how hard you need to work. I think those things change, and over a period of time, they're the ones that tend to drop out of the game.
No, it's an interesting point. And there's one thing that I was talking to someone about, the sound, particularly in cricket, and not so much in other sports, because things keep moving, but like a drop catch or a golden duck, where you get the parental support or crowd, they do the and it's like for kids that are 12 or 13 or 15 or whatever, like that's not a great sound to hear. And you're like, imagine them feeling that. And I didn't like that playing up, growing up, but it's interesting because there's a lot of pressure on. There's money, there's fame, there's bright lights, and SCG and MCG right on the line right now.
That's right, yeah. And I suppose when you are hearing those things and seeing those things at a younger age, it's not that deep. You're just there trying to enjoy yourself and have some fun with your mates. So a lot of the time, I suppose it's people trying to live vicariously through their kids, and that's a shame. And it's nothing that I've ever experienced, thank God. But it is, it's something that I try and make a little bit of an impact on when I am doing my coaching with the one-on-ones, because it is really important. And obviously it does tend to be those types of people that are seeking the coaching, and there is a bit of a process in trying to, get people just to let go and just trust that if they try their best and they love the game, that it'll all work out over a period of time. Nothing's going to happen in 2 months, 1 season, 2 seasons. Over the course of 3 to 5 years, that's when you start to see those really big changes and big moments in your career.
Trust the process, Hayden Kerr. I really have enjoyed this chat, and obviously congratulations on your new signing to Queensland. You're going to trust the process when you come up here to Queensland as well, and we'll take you out to a nice lunch at one of those restaurants that we mentioned. I really do appreciate you having a chat with us today and being on Scoreboard, and all the best in the remaining season at Glamorgan, etc. And when you come back here, let's catch up and follow your progress, and here to support.
Really look forward to it, Chris. Thanks so much for having me on, and hopefully there's a gold nugget here or there.